Thanh Thuy.
So Rise of the Ronin has been out for over a week. And guess what? This review is going to have no impact whether or not you buy the game. You either did or you didn't already. With that said, my approach is going to be different than most of the reviews that I've come across. And by most, I mean every single one of them. I will try my absolute best to avoid comparing this game to Ghost of Tsushima. If I do mention the word Ghost or Tsushima, I will say of, then please call me out. So I get hyped for games just like the rest of you. I don't get review copies or codes, and I spend my own hard-earned money to buy them. If you expect this game to be like other particular games, then you are already setting up your experience to be exactly like that game. Don't do that here. I promise you, just don't. Rise of the Ronin is a PS5 exclusive and also a AAA title developed by Team Ninja beginning in 2015. This developer has provided us with a relatively deep RPG with fantastic customization options, including a character creator option, as well as a various mechanic pertaining to changing combat styles, switching out your gear and weapons that have their own buff and stats, as well as an honor system. In addition, the game does offer player choice at key moments, which allows players to side with or fight against various NPCs. Personally, I do think the game starts off relatively slow and keeps you in line with a traditional tutorial to teach you some of the mechanics to the player, but not all of them. After the prologue, you'll be introduced to the open world. You have a grappling hook immediately, which is excellent, and can also be used to pull enemies towards you in combat. Not too far into the game, a horse and glider becomes an option to traverse as well. There is also a side mission to obtain a bow, which I feel is a must-play mission early on. Quick synopsis about the story. So Rise of the Ronin follows the Blade Twins and their involvement in the Veiled Edge resistance group after their family was murdered by ninjas working for the Shogunate. The Blade Twins have been trained by the Bladesmith, leader of the Veiled Edge, and begin their mission to overthrow the Shogunate. That's the very simplistic gist of it. For the first few missions, you kept on rails with your Blade Twin partner. You sent off to go in and kind of infiltrate one of the famous ships, kind of brought Western influence into Japan, and then you fight back against various enemies on this ship and the pro-Shogunate forces and so on and so forth, right? Very linear. These missions kind of don't give anywhere near of the whole story of what's going to happen as far as the gameplay. Based on these missions, you'd assume that the game is somewhat janky, a janky Souls-like, with less involved combat, some stealth, and that's really it. That first boss that you hit, tutorial boss Matthew Perry from Friends, I mean, it's really not that big of a deal. You get through it, you power on, you move through, right? That's the gist of it. So the open world. Once you have access to the open world, it does in fact open up considerably. Sorry, I don't have a thesaurus handy to put this more eloquently. There are 3 main regions that make up the map: Yokohama, Edo, and Kyoto. Each offers tons of side content, shrines, shops, loot, collectibles, bandit camps, etc., etc. Not too far into the game, I stumbled upon a large tree that I was able to platform via the grappling hook and needed to time my moves perfectly to be able to get to a specific part of the tree to collect some incredible loot, which was an outstanding katana and a mask. Had I not seen that tree, I would never have even went that way. Like, there was just a prompt to kind of go up with a grappling hook, and it kind of led me from there. It was kind of an excellent example of exploration. You'll be prompted in the world when someone's in trouble, or if a specific point of interest is close by. There are public orders, with different level ranks, which you need to take on to clear that particular camper area. Usually there will be multiple enemies plus 1, 2, or even 3 mini bosses. Some of those mini bosses are named enemies, which is even greater. Personally, I never got tired of these and didn't feel that these were repetitive or a waste of time. There are also fugitives, aka mini bosses, that are around the map that you can take on for various rewards. Great feature in this game. Also, there are mini games and miscellaneous activities such as archery, firearm training, glider races, photography, and cat collecting, to name a few. The world doesn't look the best, and to be honest, it should look better considering it's a PS5 exclusive, but the open world is still relatively well done. So for enemy types and combat, as mentioned, there's mini bosses that are unique, and there are quite a few of them. I found the enemy variety to be good, even though every enemy is a human or humanoid, with no fantastical or paranormal elements to be found here. I will mention that there are 3 difficulty options, and I played on Dusk, which is basically medium difficulty. This was a fair challenge, and I did in fact die quite a bit. Following along with the main story, you will enter a mission-based format to take on each progressing storyline, which can be done in co-op with friends if you like. You also have an AI companion for some missions, so you can have some help along the way, and also if it's relevant to the story beat. There are no forced stealth segments that I can recall, but stealth is in fact viable and necessary on higher difficulties. You may need to take out 1, 2, or 3 basic enemies strategically to be able to have enough healing items or even ammo for your rifle or bow before taking on mini bosses, or as the game refers to these enemies as formidable foes. As for combat, I truly enjoyed my time with the game because of the vast variety in weapon types, combat styles, and block counterspark option. The animations for a critical strike are gruesome and even allow for you to chop off the head of the enemy. It's pretty graphic stuff, and I love it. Sound effects also make the combat feel more gripping and immersive. The clanking of the steel against an enemy's katana, or the slicing of a critical hit to finish off a staggered boss is so friggin' satisfying. You can use a jump attack, a grappling hook to pull an enemy closer to you, and even drop from the glider onto an enemy to perform an execution blow. Combat is extremely fast paced and really is just a whole lot of fun. I will say that this game is more arcadey type of action than realistic, so I just want to mention that. The Rise of the Ronin is a longer game with tons of content to maximize the amount of time you can immerse yourself in this world. That's kind of what you want from an open world game, if you ask me. Personally, I had a good time playing this game because there was a tons of variety in traversal combat and side content. I liked the story, but felt that the open world was more entertaining to me due to the fact that you can stumble upon a high level mini boss and not even realize it. You even come across a barely clothed soldier that needs your help getting back his clothes from an angry mob. You have to go kill them. It's a revenge vendetta type of deal. You give the guy his clothes, you make a bond connection. You'll see him later in the game. This happens often with various NPCs that you can just build relationships with. Truly a great mechanic. So I want to briefly touch base on performance as well as the difficulty option. So performance wise, the game doesn't look great. The texture quality is not great. The shadow, lighting, none of that is outstanding. It's very basic. In fact, it's pretty dated, to be honest. If you play this game, you will need to play it on performance to prioritize performance, because if you play it on graphics or even ray tracing, you are going to have a stuttering mess of a game. And that is just the reality, unfortunately. So you must play it on performance, and that's really all there is to it. In closing, I will say that this was an ambitious attempt by Team Ninja to go outside of their traditional formula, and I feel that they did a good job. They provided an experience that is fun and can be played at your pace. If you want to proceed the story, then you can. If you want to go around and take photographs of monuments or landmarks, that's here too. If you want to seek out mini bosses and clear camps, guess what? You're covered here. Will this game redefine the genre? Absolutely not. But that's okay. As a PS5 exclusive, we do expect something to make it feel like it deserves the title of an exclusive. So I will say that absolutely nothing in this game justifies this being a PS5 exclusive. The graphics could and should have been so much better in 2024. Definitely no arguing in that whatsoever. I would close in saying that I enjoyed my time and this game was fun. Jack of all trades, master of none. Best use of this well-known statement applies to Rise of the Ronin, and that is not a negative by any means. Thank you for watching, and please enjoy playing those games that you love.